hit go live.
Okay.
Hey, everybody. Hope you're all having a great evening or morning or afternoon, wherever you are in the world. My name is Brittany, and I will be your studio host today from Etcher Lab. Today, we have an amazing artist named Nuraya. I hope I said that properly.
Nuraya.
Nuraya, sorry, Nuraya. And she is located in Vancouver, Canada, in case anybody was curious. Just a couple of things to mention before we get started on today's artwork. If you are new today, welcome. Hi, thanks for joining our demos. If you're a frequent flyer with us, thank you for coming back, and it's nice to see you again in today's demo. We are going to be doing a little bit of florals, but like a little bit of different aspect, I would say, than a usual floral that you'd probably see. It's going to be a really cool lesson. Can't wait for you guys to learn from our beautiful artists today. And just a couple things. If you guys have any questions, we will be doing a Q&A at the end, but don't worry, I will get to it. I save everything on a little file. So if I don't ask your question right away, it's probably because I'm saving it for the little Q&A session. Also, I will be mentioning our little mini workshop that we will be doing with Nuraya, and I'll drop a link for that eventually, and you'll be able to check that out. Other than that, I will get started. I'll pass things over to you, and I'll spotlight your camera.
Hi, everyone. Excited to be here. This is the first time I'm doing like a live demo, so this is really exciting for me. So I brought like some of my other work just to show you guys what I've been doing. This is kind of what we're going to be doing today. Just kind of these abstract.
They can see it on the other one here. I'll show that one.
I can just put it in front here too.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So this is just kind of what we're doing today. Just these little patterns. I like doing these because it's really calming and relaxing just to mix different colors and just kind of doodle flowers without a lot of pressure to make them look kind of accurate and that kind of thing. This is just like some of my other work that I do with leaves.
Super cool. I love your take on it.
Yeah, I really like working with colors and just kind of, that's like a bigger version of what I've been doing. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I don't have any formal training as an artist, kind of learned from the school of YouTube. But it's been fun just learning new techniques and learning about how to use watercolors, how to blend colors and that kind of thing. And just kind of trying different things and finding my style. Yeah, so I can get started on the piece that we're working on today.
For sure, yeah, let's do it.
So I chose kind of like summery colors. It's been very hot here. So I kind of went with the kind of summery color palette. So I mixed together some like red and white and kind of a brownish color to make kind of a peach. And then I'm mixing that with some yellows and greens, just because I usually like having like a big variety of colors to experiment with. I usually like to keep 2 cups of water, just one to clean my brush with the paint and then one to rinse. Because I switch colors around a lot.
That's a good Little tip. That way you're not having to get up and change it all the time. I hate doing that.
Exactly. I also tend to, like, I make the mistake of using too much water sometimes too. So I like paper towels just to blot if I need to.
If anybody is curious and wants to maybe paint along, there is a replay that will be posted. And also here is the outline of the floral pattern today. I will put it in the chat if anybody wants to download it and paint along later. Just seeing in the chat here, a couple people are saying where they're from. Ruth Moore is hi from Ontario. Hi, Ruth. Sherry is from Sunny Park City, Utah. Hi from Kansas City, Missouri. Samantha, cool. People all from everywhere. Where's everybody else from? Love to hear. What part of Vancouver do you live in?
I live in just like a suburb outside of Vancouver, just kind of right on the border of it. And it's nice because like it's kind of close to different areas.
Nice, nice.
Things and going to the water and all of
yeah,
that.
Vancouver is beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a nice city.
New Zealand. Oh, that's cool.
Hi.
Susan's from New York. Layla's from Panama. Cool. We got people from all over the place. So I'm going to drop a link for everybody for her mini workshop that will be upcoming. There's the link. Oh, too many characters. Gotta delete a couple of things here. There we go. I hate how YouTube gives me a 200 character limit.
Yeah.
All right, so I see some color blending, doing a little bit of wet on wet.
Yes. Yeah, a lot of that's one thing I really like about working with watercolors. You can just kind of go back over it and reblend things and add things. I usually end up kind of going back over it to make it a little bit darker. Because then I find when I add the ink afterwards, there's a little bit too much contrast sometimes. And then for this, I'm using hot press paper as well.
Do you always work in hot press?
It depends on what I'm doing. If I'm doing a lot of line work afterwards with my ink pens, then I tend to use hot press just because I find because it's so smooth, it's a lot more gentle on my pens. But when I do kind of just watercolors, then I like to use cold press paper because I really like the texture and just how the, oops, and just how the paint blends in.
Yeah, it kind of just does its own thing sometimes with cold press, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah, when I first started, I was using more cold press paper because a lot of other artists recommended it with watercolor. And I was just finding that when I'd go over it with ink afterwards, then my fineliners were not too happy with them.
Yeah. They get eaten up pretty quick.
Yeah, they do.
Fountain pen users too have trouble using cold press sometimes as well because it gets stuck in the nib.
Yeah, exactly. It's great for
yeah, yeah. We got a question here. Teresa's wondering, does Nuraya use real leaves as the drawing guide or stock photos? The shapes are beautiful.
Oh, thank you. A little of both. I have like a good amount of good number of house plants at home. So I often like to just kind of use what I have, just because it's right in front of me, and then I can also kind of look at it from different angles and that kind of thing to just get different perspectives of it. And then I do use stock photos as well. I really like to go through Pinterest and just kind of get lost in there to find ideas. I don't tend to copy like one picture at a time, just because I never know like if it's okay for me to do that. Sometimes photographers don't really want their work copied in that way. So I try to just gain more inspiration from Pinterest, and I like to use my as like many real leaves as possible for my other inspiration as well. And then with practice too, you kind of can just especially if it's kind of like a simple leaf, you can kind of just do it from memory or from your mind.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point too about the photographers may not wanting you to use their work. I know sometimes if you ask permission, they're really happy actually if you use it.
Yeah.
But if you use a photographer's work, it's always good to give them credit in the post or something as well.
Definitely.
Another question for you here. Are you using Indian yellow and cad red?
I think it's cadmium yellow, and the red, I'm not 100% sure, but I have the box close by, I can check. I'm using the Winsor Newton Cotman. It's like a 12 pan set. It's a good one for beginners, I find, because it's not too expensive. And it just has like kind of all those base colors that you'd want to mix with. So I can double check about that.
We can check during the Q&A.
Oh yeah.
So those of you who have joined late, we will be doing a Q&A session at the end, but don't be shy, you can ask questions now. If they don't come up during her process, then I will definitely ask them during the Q&A. Another question for you here. How many colors would you typically use on each petal / leaf? That one comes from Shireen.
Usually, I would use like 2, although I like to mix in 3 sometimes as well, just for the blending.
Mm-hmm.
But it just kind of depends on how big my leaf is that I'm making. So then I don't want it to blend together too much and then look muddy.
Right, right.
Usually I try and stick to about 2 or 2 shades even.
So if you're doing a cool color, you try to stay with a cool color as well for the next one, or does
Yeah,
that necessarily matter?
sometimes like I try to kind of like apply those color theory principles with blending colors in just to kind of keep things mixing nicely. Um, so I tend to kind of stick with that.
Just want to take this time to mention that we have this new program that you may have seen in our newsletter if you are signed up for receiving our newsletter. It is basically a give 10, get 10 program. So if you refer a friend, you'll get $10 towards a mini workshop. Or if you refer a friend, you'll get $10 towards a mini workshop, and so will they. So it's a referral program that we're doing. I will drop a link for info in the chat. So like you said at the beginning, you haven't been painting for a super long time. What made you get into it?
Yeah, so I've always been kind of more of like a drawer. Ever since I was younger, I love to draw portraits, and I just always kind of drawing as a hobby. And then I'm a registered nurse by profession.
Right, yeah.
So this past year, I kind of just wanted to get into something else that was going to be relaxing and kind of keep me off my phone all the time and that kind of thing. So I found I always wanted to kind of get back into creating art and painting and that kind of thing. So I kind of got all the supplies. I learned a lot. As I was mentioning on YouTube, there's just a lot of really, really amazing artists out there that share a lot of tips and advice for beginners. So I got into that, and it was kind of just part of my nightly routine, just kind of getting out my paint set and practicing. And just over the past year, I've found a style that I really like. I do a lot of leaves, if you've seen my Instagram. So I like kind of working with different shapes of leaves and just trying different colors out. And I just find it really relaxing and calming, and something that's just not like high pressure to do. So that's kind of how I got into it over the past year. So it's been a really fun experience. I've met so many cool people on Instagram and artists who are kind of got started for the same reason in the past year. So it's been really cool to kind of see that aspect of the world and what people are doing to create different things.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I know for myself, I definitely dove a lot more into my art
Yeah.
due to the last couple years, which
Yeah, it's been really
is a
great.
positive thing in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. That's one thing like I'm really actually grateful for over the past year is just being able to rediscover this passion that I have for creating.
Have you tried to venture away from florals at all, or is it just something that you're super passionate about painting?
I love botanicals in general. Like I do like to sketch as well. Um, Flowers, I honestly really intimidate me because there's just so fine details, and I'm always really like, oh, I have to be super accurate with things, and um, so I kind of like doing these kind of patterns where, or just kind of those modern florals that
Hmm.
just kind of the lines are really fun too, because I just find it really simple and good for practice. But I really enjoy sketching florals and botanical themes and stuff like that. I haven't gone back to my portraits and stuff that I used to do a lot of, just because I've been loving this part of it so much. But maybe at some point soon, I feel like I want a bit of a change.
Hmm. It's nice to see too the change in your style, going back from doing one type of thing for so long, then going back to something else.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, first starting out, it was kind of like I'm not kind of sure what to do, and even just different techniques with your brush and that kind of thing, and just over time, just kind of not planning it out too much and just trying to like, oh, that looks like an interesting, flower pattern. Like maybe I could try something similar to that. Just kind of helped me to develop my own style afterwards. So it's been a really fun process.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely hard to figure out what your style is. And
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely. Especially like you see so much talent out there, and it can be really intimidating to share your work alongside all these people that you admire and everything.
yeah, definitely. That's what I think it's what's good about like connecting with a good community too of beginner artists and other people who are really accepting. Not to use that to advertise our Facebook group, but I think that's exactly what our Facebook group is.
Yeah.
We do have a group for everybody who joins our mini workshops and live demos, and people share their artwork on there. If they just want to share it or if they're specifically asking for a critique or help with something, and everybody is so welcoming and nice. People are so eager to give advice too, if that's what people are looking for. It's a great community. So if you're interested in joining that, I'm also going to put a link for that in the chat.
Yeah, it's great to be able to ask people questions kind of directly related to your work, and especially if you're going to achieve something in particular, like you can search for hours sometimes, but if there's somebody to ask directly, then it's really good.
Yeah, exactly. And quite a bit of our artists are actually a part of the community too, and you'll see them pop up in there every once in a while too. And sometimes they'll get advice or post things. So it's a fun place for everybody.
I really like to do these kinds of patterns as well, because I always have this thing about feeling the need to use all of the paper. And so sometimes my composition gets a little bit messed up because I'm, just trying to use every inch of the paper. But for these, it's part of the pattern, so it kind of works out.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Especially as like somebody who's first getting into it or something, you want to use as much as you can of the material.
Yeah.
Yeah, these types of paintings are perfect for that.
So usually now, like I kind of go over, like some of the parts down here have dried. So I like to just kind of go over it and darken some points more. Sometimes I add a little bit more of like a certain color.
Do you always work with just one brush?
For these kind of patterns, I do. Sometimes I have, this is like a number 4 watercolor brush. Sometimes I'll go a little bit smaller if I'm doing something more detailed. But I tend to find that this usually works for my purposes.
Just reading some comments here. Shasta is saying, Nuraya's flowers are sure looking pretty. I only started playing a little with watercolor earlier this year. Never tried hot press though. I'm liking that smooth look here even before the line work.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I definitely recommend the hot press paper especially if you're gonna do line work over it.
Typically, how many layers do you put over the
Usually
petals?
just two. Like if like some of them I find are kind of already dark enough, but um if I go back and I'm like, oh, like I should have done a bit more of this color in this area or something like that, then I'll go over it and just kind of try again. Because it always looks a little bit different after it dries.
Yeah.
Just go over once more here. Or sometimes there'll be a color in there and I don't really end up liking how it turned out, or I'll change my mind. So I'll just kind of paint over it and a bit of a different shade of the color.
Just letting you know we're about halfway through.
Sure. The fineliner portion of it is pretty quick, so I'll just touch up this part a little bit more.
Yeah, no worries. Did you kind of discover the style on your own, or is it inspired by any artists you like, or?
I started doing this style because I was trying to learn how to do those kind of loose florals. And I always found that I had a hard time just trying to get it to blend and kind of look the way that I was wanting it to look. And then I kind of just came across this, like, just as I was kind of just doodling, just mixing colors for fun and that kind of thing. And then, like, I really love the drawing part of it. So I just thought, like, what if I kind of layered the fine liners over top? And there's a lot of other artists that do fine liners and watercolor as well. So I just kind of thought I could try this kind of pattern and just see what happened with that. And I ended up really liking the result and the process. So I just kind of stuck with this. And then there's some other artists on Instagram that do a lot of line work with Botanicals as well.
Mhm.
And I thought that would be really cool to try. So I just kind of tried out the style on my own kind of leaves and things that I liked. And then I really enjoyed the process as well. I really like doing that kind of repetitive drawing. And I just found
Yeah, it's very meditative.
Yeah, definitely. So I just found it to be very relaxing and meditative and calming. And so I just kind of kept doing that. So usually I would let this like fully dry just because I find that the ink pen needs that, even if it's waterproof. Like one of the biggest questions I get on Instagram is, you know, how do you get the ink to not bleed? And so I use watercolor pen, or I'm sorry, watercolor or waterproof fine liners. And the biggest thing is just really waiting for your watercolor to dry. Or even there's times that I'm doing the outline with my watercolor or with my fine liners and then doing the painting part over that. And even the fine liner needs like a few minutes to dry. So I'll just kind of put it aside for a few minutes and come back to it, even when it's waterproof. So I kind of have drawn in my, where I would do the fine liner parts on here. I don't know if you can kind of see it.
Yep.
And then I have like my second version here, my dried version that I did before. And now that it's like completely dry, I would just go over it with my fine liners. And again, I like this just because, you know, you've got the details and that repetitive action is very calming for me. So I have these Stabler liners that I've been using for the last little while. I'm waiting for my Etcher ones to come in the mail. I'm excited about those.
Hopefully you'll have them in time for the mini workshop.
Yes, yeah, I should. So I will take like a 0.5 to do the outline. And I don't tend to do like a lot of times you'll see like the circle drawn and then you draw your petals in that. So you can do that, but I kind of just like to do it freehand and see what happens. So I just kind of draw my circles in for the center. And then I draw my petals, and I like doing these just because it's like, you don't have to be like super accurate about anything. It's just kind of like freehand drawing. And I'll usually do the opposite ends just so that I can kind of have the spacing the way that I would want. And then for the inner lines, I'll usually go to like a 0.1 size and just draw that part in.
Couple people asking in the chat here what your Instagram name is, so I'm just gonna put it in the chat here. Everybody go check out her beautiful art. Does this part always stay relaxing or does it ever stress you out?
it usually keeps me relaxed. Like I'm trying to kind of let go of like, if it doesn't turn out right, it's not the end of the world.
Mm-hmm.
It's, it's, I can do another one. So I do find it pretty relaxing for the most part. I just like to kind of listen to music or something like that. And it's just kind of calming. I find like kind of drawing more realistic looking flowers to be like, it's really fun, but I find it to be a little bit less relaxing just because I'm really trying to get it to look a certain way. Whereas with this, it's kind of like, well, it is what it is.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of your own creation, so it can look whatever it needs to be.
Yeah, exactly.
That kind of brings up a question that we got earlier that I was saving for the Q&A, but that's a good segue for it. So somebody was asking, do you paint or create in silence, or do you have something on in the background? Do you do plein air for nature art?
I do sometimes do, like, I love going outside, but it just kind of depends. It rains a lot in Vancouver, so
Right, yeah.
allow me a lot of opportunities to go outside, although I do really like to. But even with that, like, I love just having music in the background at all times. So I generally will either put my headphones on or just kind of have my music going in the background while I'm drawing. And I find too that like the rhythm of it helps me just kind of keep like the right pace when I'm drawing as well. I like to listen to a lot of 90s hip hop when I'm drawing.
Nice. Love it.
That's like my favorite.
Any go-to artists?
Like everything. Kind of like, I just kind of think about like, I like the classic people, like, Biggie, Tupac kind of stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
The go-to.
Yeah, the go-tos, like pretty much people that would be on any 90s playlist that
Yeah.
find on Spotify type of thing.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I'm the same way. I like to listen to older music a lot when I create for some reason.
Yeah. And then I think about like how old these songs actually are, and I'm like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, yeah. I was listening to Shaggy the other day and I was thinking about, wow, this song must be so old.
Yeah. Yeah, like a lot of like Jay-Z, just kind of anything that from that era is really fun for me.
Yeah, I agree. Comment here from Elizabeth. Love this, but I find I want my lines to be perfect. It's great to hear other artists say not to worry. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, definitely. Because definitely, like, I think if you see my stuff on Instagram, like that's a comment that I get a lot, that like, oh, your lines are so perfect. But like when I look at them, I don't actually think that. I can kind of look at like, oh, this is where I, kind of slipped here and that kind of thing. I find that even though we might not think it looks perfect, other people will definitely like say otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
We're often like really critical of ourselves. And
I think that's the beauty of botanical art too, is that it's not supposed to look absolutely like perfect and symmetrical. Yeah, it's like kind of all unique, every petal.
yeah, like
I love to how, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just saying, like, that's like one thing for me that I had to really work on too, is just kind of forgiving myself for having it not look kind of exactly perfect.
Mm-hmm. I was just gonna say, I love, like, now we can see the line work and the overlapping happening.
Yes. Yeah, it's a nice contrast, I find.
Hmm.
When I first started kind of doing this style, it was also like, I've spent all this time painting and I'm just kind of drawing over it. Is that going to look okay? But I ended up being happy with the result. So just kept doing it.
I'm noticing too that sometimes you're doing some lines a little bit thicker than others. Is there like a rhyme or reason as to which ones are thicker, or are you just kind of doing it randomly?
I'm just kind of doing it randomly. Like if I feel like it needs a little bit more in a certain slot, then that's where I'll do it. I just like to have the effect of it being a bit more close together, more like in the center and then at the end as well. Because then it just kind of looks stripy to me. So I'll usually go
Right, yeah.
over those areas just to make sure that there's that like convergence. But that's like another nice thing about listening to music with it is that it kind of forces me to focus on something else as well and not to overthink my line work.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Because I find that when I start to slow down too much with it and I'm trying to make it look like more perfect, then it doesn't end up looking the way that I would want it to look. You kind of just have to go for it and hopefully it'll turn out nice.
Yeah, it's hard sometimes when you're struggling with the beginning stages and you think it's going to turn out not good. And then, you just sometimes have to just work through that thought and then it just turns out great.
Yeah, definitely. And there's pieces too that I've started on and then I just haven't wanted to finish them because I've been like, this is hopeless. How am I going to save it?
Yep, I'm in that boat.
But that's actually like one of the reasons why I started doing the line work on the leaves as well, was because I think like it was like a ginkgo leaf that I was drawing and I was like, these paint colors are not turning out the way. Like I really liked the composition, but the painting part of it, I was like, this is not looking the way that I want it to look. So I was like, I'm just gonna ink over it and maybe that will help. And then it ended up looking like really nice. So it's kind of a nice trick as well to just kind of add another medium over it if it's not coming out the way that you want it to look.
Yeah, for sure. So for this part and the outline of the petals, are you using a thicker fineliner?
Yes, I'm using a 0.5 tip, and sometimes I'll use a 0.3 just depending on what it is. Usually on my leaf drawings, I'll use a 0.3. Um, I like to have like a bit of a gap in between the sizes just so that like it looks different with the outline and the details on the inside.
Yeah.
And again, with these ink flowers, like I did it because I was trying to use my whole page. So I just kind of place them on the areas that it seems like it needs something extra. And I got one more in this corner. Then I like to do my circles just kind of wherever and not follow a particular pattern with them as well.
So we're coming up to the time to do our Q&A, everybody. So make sure to get your questions in so I can ask all of them and I don't miss any. I'm also just going to put in the chat a link to a quick survey. It takes less than 2 minutes to fill out. It's mainly a multiple choice question survey. It just lets us know how we're doing in our live demos and mini workshops and such. It really helps us to improve our content if you guys can answer a couple of the questions there. And there is a comment section at the bottom. So if you have anything that you might want to see in future demos, or you have any comments about today's demo, would love to see them in there. It really, like I said, it really helps us to improve our content. Or if you just want to tell us how great of a job we did today, I'm perfectly okay with that too. And you can put that in there as well.
And that's about it.
Beautiful. Yeah, I love the contrast with like the monochromatic line work and then the beautiful pattern of color underneath. Alrighty, so just gonna ask a few of the questions here. Switch back to gallery mode. All right, so what brand of paper did you use today?
I'm using the Fabriano Artistico hot press paper. It's the 300 GSM. And I usually like to buy like the big, like kind of poster board size sheets and then cut them according to the size that I want.
Yeah, that's a good way. I do that too sometimes when I want to buy like a super expensive brand or I want to try a new one. That way you can just buy a really big cheap sheet for like a decent price and then just cut it down, and ends up being a really good deal that way.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, Speaking of Fabriano paper, did you hear they have a soft press, which is basically halfway between cold press and hot press?
Yeah, I have. I bought actually a big sheet of that to try out as well, but I'm still working my way through the stuff that I've cut. So that is definitely on my list to try as well.
I'm curious about that. I haven't gotten to try any of that yet, but it sounds interesting.
Yeah. Maybe by my workshop, I'll have something to report back.
Awesome. Okay, next question. In pieces like this one, how much of your color palette and placement is preconceived?
So for this, I drew everything out, but a lot of the times I just do it freehand. When I kind of did those initial pieces, like, which is a good one to show you, like this one here. This one, like there's no pencil on there. I just kind of did this freehand. So I like doing that because it was a good exercise to kind of show myself that I can just wing it and it'll turn out okay as well. And it's more, focusing on the process and how you feel with the painting and everything and not worrying too much about how it turns out. So I found that with this pattern, I did just kind of freehand. I didn't really, even my planning my color palettes, I didn't really preconceive those ones. For this one I did, just because I wanted to make sure that it was gonna turn out a certain way. When I do my leaves, those ones I always draw out in pencil first. But my color palettes for those also, I often just wing it for those, unless I'm doing like a commission piece or something that I just really want to make sure that I'm having the right color combinations. But I like to reuse a lot of my paint as well. So often you'll see that I kind of have the same repeating colors for a few works at a time. And that's just because I don't like to waste my paint. So I try to like just kind of use a spray bottle and reuse as much as I can. And I'll kind of mix in new hues in there and stuff as I need to as well, just to change it up a little bit. But not a lot of my color palettes are preconceived.
All right. I know I saw another question pop up here. Just looking in the chat. Sorry, just bear with me, everybody. This one's from Linda. Do you always mix petal amounts? Sorry. Do you mind clarifying a little bit what you mean by petal amounts? In the meantime, until Linda gets back to us as to what she means, does anybody else have any other questions? I'm going to put, again, the link for your mini workshop with us. What are you going to be painting for us in there?
So that one I'm going to do like a leaf composition. So something kind of similar to this one here. Just those kind of simple leaves. So with that, like I'll do the outline I think is already on my mini workshop there, but I'll do like the full kind of how I mix my colors. and how I do the line work on top of that as well. So that's what I'm going to be doing for my mini workshop.
Sweet. Just noticing your sweater, is that one of your own artworks?
Oh yeah, it is.
Oh, that's super cool.
Yeah, so I started doing that. I just was kind of wanting to have some original t-shirts and stuff for myself, and then other people wanted them too. So I was like, okay, I'll make them available. And yeah, this is my sweatshirt with my own artwork on it.
That's awesome. I've always wanted to do that. Super cool idea. It looks great.
Thank you.
All right, well, we're coming up to the end of today's time. I'm so sorry, everybody. I wish we had more time for today's demo. But if you want to learn more, definitely go check out the mini workshop. I just posted details a second ago in the chat. And then I'll also post again the live demo survey if you wouldn't mind filling that out. Like I said, it takes less than 2 minutes. It's mainly just a multiple choice thing with a little comment section at the bottom. And if you want to let us know if you want to see certain things in the future or how we did today, or whatever. It's mainly for you guys just to let us know how we're doing, and it really helps us for the future. Alrighty, everybody. I'm going to wrap things up. Thank you again for joining. My name is Brittany, and I was your studio host today. Thank you again to our amazing artist, Nuraya.
It was nice being here and showing you all my work, and I hope to see you at the mini workshop.
Yay. Just reading some comments. Way to go on first demo. Thanks again, Etcher. You did great. Thanks, everybody. This was wonderful. This is lovely, beautiful artwork. Oh, you guys are sweet. We'll look at the workshop. Yay, sign up. Awesome. Thank you, everybody. Again, have a great morning, afternoon, night. I don't know what time zone it is for you, but hope you have a good rest of your day. And thank you for coming. Don't forget to check out those mini workshop details. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.